What's going on, family? It's your brother Lawrence here with another episode of Watch God Work. In every episode, we get the distinct pleasure and honor to speak to a brother or sister who's doing exceptional work in every field of human endeavor. And they share their God story, the ways in which God has been at work in their life and the ways in which God has been at work in their work. And today it is no different. I have my brother, your brother, our brother, Chris Hudson. What's going on, King?
What's up, King? How you doing, my
Man,
man?
I'm good, man. I'm solid. I'm excited. I was laughing a little online, man. I thought I was gonna be getting some California love in the background, but you ATLing,
Yeah,
you back there with everybody, and so I'm
yeah,
thankful. I'm
definitely.
thankful to speak with you, man. And but I love those conversations, man. That the name precedes you, that it rings bells with just people they respect, and um, I think in a time I think in the time now where I think people understand and are recognizing that life is not given, that even their
Yes,
own health is something that they have to be intentional about. I think there's something to be said
yes,
about just working and building things that truly are about serving people. And so when I think
yes,
about your story and the work that you're doing with all the things you could have done, you decided to
definitely. Yeah,
create a lifestyle brand that literally
yeah,
would encourage
yeah,
people, everyday people, as you would say,
yeah,
on their journey in
yes,
life. And I think
definitely.
now there are people who have ever been in those moments, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're not, whether you're just everyday or
Hmm.
not, where there's times when just even getting out of the bed is a gift in the morning, just
Yes,
the weight, overwhelm. And so being able to look down at your chest, look in the mirror, and see encouragement in the life's journey, I just think that that is a true act of service to our brothers and sisters. But I'm only scratching the surface, clearly, because I can't tell it better than you could tell it. And so let's kick it off, man.
definitely.
Who is Chris Hudson?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. When I think of my life, I'm a man of God, a man of faith, first and foremost. I'm a father,
Mm,
uh, a visionary. I'm a humble guy, humble servant. I'm a guy that is always thinking about the next person before I think of
mm,
myself. And I'm a I truly believe that I'm placed on earth to get my gift out to the world before my time
mm,
ends. And that's like one of the main focus that I live by every single day is giving it all I got every single day, no matter what, making every moment count, every day count. And that's just me. I'm a steward. I'm a go getter. I'm just all around, just a great guy,
mm,
man. Just that I know that I'm here for a purpose and I want to be the best that I can be pretty much. So
mm,
that's just how I live my life every single
mm.
day.
Brother, I appreciate how you even break that down just to even lead it off, because anyone who does any bit of research to get behind the
Yeah.
story of life's journey, it
Yeah.
the words you share about how you arrived at the brand, it comes
Right.
as someone who's very contemplative, like who thinks a lot. And so even when you
Yes.
talk about the story of, when you were figuring out, God, what do you want me to do? It was days of prayer. It was days of like,
Yeah.
all right, God, I love people, I love fashion.
Yeah.
So could you just almost take us back to the genesis of like coming up, your both introduction to God, but then also just
Yeah.
how you started to get to know yourself, where you're like, okay, I'm into fashion, I'm into this. What were some of those hints along the way that got you clear on that?
For as far as the introduction, my mom, she was a huge advocate of making sure that me and my little brother stayed in church.
Mm,
I mean, we grew up in church, and I mean, she always made sure that we would attend church, kind of know the word of God. But it wasn't until my latter years that I had to get out and find God on myself,
mm,
right? And that was through experiences, through conversations, through observations, different moments of life that I had to kind of go through to find myself. Because many a times we're taught something, right, and we just kind of believe what is taught to us, and actually instead of actually living the life to figure out the information for yourself. So for me, I had to go through that transitional phase, and when I got to know God for myself, I was at a place of trying to figure out what God wanted me to do
mm,
with my time on Earth. Because, like I said, I've always kind of grew up loving fashion, but I always had a heart for
mm,
people, and that really stemmed from my mother and my father, how they love people, been around people, and that just kind of like passed down to me. So I just remember just being in prayer and just asking God, what do you want from me? I'm at a point in my life where um, I wasn't sure in terms of college or what I wanted to do with that next step in my life. And I just remember just diving down, just praying to God and just asking him what he wants from me. And just through constant prayer, it just popped in my head, life's journey. And I got up, I wrote it down, and I didn't know exactly, what to do with that, because I always tell people it's kind of hard to become what you don't
Mm,
see. So I didn't see anyone with a clothing line. I didn't see anyone with a t-shirt brand. So it's like, okay, if I want to start a clothing line, who do I mirror? Who do I look up to? How do I figure this process out if no one's actually doing what I want to do? Right. So that took time to actually find someone that was doing, t-shirts here and there, and then just reaching out to him. And then that's what kind of stem line, me getting Life Journey going
mm.
from there.
It,
Yeah.
this is these moments and stories like this. There's stories unlike this, right? Because it's unique to you. But I think there's a unique pressure. I have to give color, right? I think particularly as a young man,
Yes.
right? You in Lexington,
Yes.
Kentucky. You kind of like, all right, cool. What's the next step? What's the next play? And I think there's pressure for a man to know you have to have a plan. What are you gonna do?
Yes.
And then there's this weight, whether people tell you or not, whether people like it or not, you want to be in a position financial where you can support the people who you love, support your loved one.
Exactly.
So to even be in this place of prayer, it takes a lot of just faith and just trust to be like, all right, I'm not gonna just go
For
with
sure.
what I can do. I'm gonna wait for God. But then the second piece, which is when you get a sense, it's not like God burning bushed you and was just like, yo, you know what I mean? Like you had to trust that was true, or that was not just
Yeah.
you and your thoughts, and that was God. Was that something like, was that like the first major, like, I'm a real walk on water moment, or like along the way, you always tend to be like, God speaks to me through dreams? Like, was that something that was a consistent pattern, or that was the first time you're like, all right, we're gonna go for the wall on this?
For sure. No, no, God. It's funny that you said that. It's a really great point, because even coming up in church, I remember our pastor telling my mother and father that God spoke to me through dreams. So when I
Mm,
actually prayed, that manifested in itself, because I would see certain dreams. Now, all the dreams that I would see sometimes wasn't good dreams, right?
mm,
Sometimes it could be nightmares because of the spirits that may be within the house. But outside of that, I was able to visualize dreams that would come to pass for me. So when I prayed about that particular prayer, the reason why I knew that this is what God intended for me is because everything else kind of aligned itself the way it was supposed to be,
mm,
right?
mm.
And when you're operating out of the will of God, it may not flow like it's supposed to. You keep running into this, and that. But I believe that when God has His hands on it, everything flows the way it's supposed to
Mm,
flow. Now, you may to a roadblock or obstacle or something that may hinder you right then and there, but I look at that as a form of a lesson, because you're able to, as you continue to go on and live throughout life, you'll be able to look back and be thankful that you actually experienced that roadblock or that moment, because it helped you parallel to the next
mm,
level. So for me, everything really just aligned itself the way that it was supposed to be when I knew that this is what God wanted me to
mm.
do.
It's if you've ever been around, you've been around musicians or people who could sing. A lot of times back in the
Yep.
day, not even back in the day, me and my boys, we talk about this. We be like, the Lord know what to gave me, because I would have sang, I would have not made it to this age.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that would have been too many weapons, right? Like,
sure. Yeah,
it may not have been for good.
sure.
I'm saying this to say, even the way you say it in a very matter of fact way, but a lot of the things that you're talking about, there's one theme that I see consistently. And when you talk about the brand, you talk about the story, is the comfort with the struggle, the comfort with the
Yeah,
disappointment. Just like, hey, you got to be comfortable. You got like you got the commitment and you got the
yeah,
consistency piece, right? You just talked about that
for
even
sure.
recently, right? And so I actually am almost really curious about just hmm, what what was it about God, beyond like growing up, getting a sense of kind of how important God was, going to church.
Yeah.
When it real was real for you, what was it about God that made it? Was it the fact that I knew that He was the North Star, or I knew that He would take care
Mm.
of things? Like everybody I've known just always has a different aspect of God that was real for them, where they're like, oh, yo, I'm rock. What was that for you? What made God like, okay, this is good news for me. I need Him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it was. I mean, dating back, I was in a car
Mm-hmm.
accident, and for being in that particular car accident, I didn't have my seatbelt on. And I just remember we veered off on the road. We flipped maybe 2 times, and we hit a tree. And I just remember seeing like a bright light, and that was pretty much like just that was it. I thought it was it, right? That's when I knew for me that God still had His hand on me, because throughout that moment of that happening, I was able I was on bed rest for about 3 weeks. Throughout me being on the bed rest, that's how I came up with my logo, the Life's Journey, the backpack guy with the stick and the bag, pretty much leaving my past behind me and continuing on with my future. So I knew God always had His hands on me. I just didn't know how. And sometimes we always speak from well, this situation happened and this is why I believe in God. But no, I honestly believe that it wasn't my time. And as I look back, I feel like if I did pass away, it'd have been a prematurely death, because I look at all the lives that God has allowed me to touch within that decade of a span with me still being on earth.
Bam.
It was me experiencing that to know like, wow, like that would have been a premature death because I was out of will, right? But God still had His hands on me. So looking back, like, wow, just the magnitude of lives that He allowed me to reach and touch, like, let me know that He has His hands on me. You know what I mean? So that was that moment for me, experiencing that, and then a few other moments too, but that really stuck out to me the most.
Man, that's real, man. And the logo piece was, it hit me a lot, especially, but it seems so, I'm not just saying serendipitous, right? Because I think as you're navigating that, but it's just like, God will use all. There's no unused raw material that He will use for His work and for His glory. One of the things that I appreciate, man, I love, Master P and a few of people. I just love how they get it out the mud. I just love the story, right?
Sure.
Shout out to the Nolan Crowd. I thought that was a really good document. It's underrated, but we talk about that. But one of the things that I think,
For sure.
For anybody even listening, whether believing in God or not, I think one of the things that people every Christmas, they talk about Emmanuel, God with us. There's something about God not dropping like scrolls from heaven and then saying, yo, believe. He brought somebody that's really in touch. And that's been one part of your story that I really appreciate, is that love of people in many ways was just like, and in the lining of even how you started to get the word out, right? From the 300, you know what I mean? From them dollars, making it stretch, right? And then, but you got it out the trunk. You were out and touching people in a grassroots way. Was your faith, right? Not even just faith, like God gave me the vision and then do this, I need to do the works. Was the faith at work in kind of even just that methodology, right? Because some people may sit in the back of their computer like, all right, I'm gonna just hit these Facebook ads and hopefully, just talk about how your faith and that dialogue with God really informed even your marketing strategy and what you were doing touching people.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question too. Like, Lawrence, like for me, I always believed in as I started to build Life's Journey, and I was building out of the trunk, I started to understand that my focus was to build relationships first, business second. And what I meant by that is that sometimes I would actually travel 15 to 20 minutes to meet someone on this side of town, and then I come back to meet someone on this side of town. But when I was meeting these people, it wasn't just a quick transaction. It was, hey, how are you doing? I'm doing fine. How's your day going? My day's going good. We're actually having a conversation. Throughout that conversation, it then led to 15, 20 minutes of us talking and them feeling connected to the brand. This is the messaging behind the brand. Believe, pursue, inspire. This is what this means. So I wasn't just giving them an actual garment. I was telling the story behind the garment, which then made them more compelled to like really believe in the vision. And I wasn't building this brand just to make money. I was building it to really help people and empower people to get to that next level, wherever they may have been in life. So for me, it just really kind of spread from there, just from building relationships. And that's why I believe that I have the loyal fan base that I have now, is because the people that were patronizing and purchasing from the brand now have told their kids about the brand, and the kids buy from the brand, or they tell their family members, their friends. But that was my faith walk, was because I didn't know that, I was going to get to this level. I just knew that God had designed me to build this, and I knew I was going to get to wherever I wanted to be, but I just knew it was going to take time. But throughout that time, I just really loved that grassroots approach, and that's why I do the pop-up shops now. And I just don't really focus on the online aspect of it. I want to get out, touch people. I want to have conversations because those conversations help bring forth new ideas for the brand. They really help me grow as a person. I help them grow. So even when people come to experience the pop-up shops, it's an experience. It's not just a transaction. You know what I mean? It's more of experience of people connecting, like-minded people connecting, fellowshipping, and just really just coming there to be inspired. And that's what the brand has built. Has been built off love, consistency, compassion, and just really just a heart for people. And like the whole relationships first is really what helped my brand get to where it's at now. And I always tell people that's going into entrepreneurship. I say, chase purpose, not paper.
Mm.
And when you follow after your purpose, the money's gonna follow. It may not be right then and there. It may take a decade. It may take 5, 6, whatever however long it may take. But if you focus on following your purpose in life, the money will always follow.
Mm. This is such a timely message, I think, in this time of, and this is not even to knock it, right? And this is actually just to kind of talk about the competitive advantage, but I think it's almost a divine invitation to actually be flesh, like to be with people, right? Right? There's a
Yeah,
pattern of that. But, I think this time of us, like, I think there's e-commerce has boomed. E-commerce has
yeah,
boomed, and you are someone who actually had experience building a brick
yes,
and mortar presence.
yeah, yes,
Not ideal. Some of the instances of kind of like break-ins, all that stuff like that. You
yeah,
transition that, but so much is
sure,
automation. Like, all right, cool. Let me replicate. Let me do that. Remember back in the day, we were mad when the phone company was like, "I need to talk to somebody," right? Like you were mad when you didn't get
yeah,
an opportunity to actually talk to somebody. I think this is timely to talk about. At the end of the day, relationship is, people
yes,
buy from people. People buy into story. People buy into that.
yeah,
But more than anything else, businesses solve problems and create value for real people. And so
yeah,
the fact that
yes,
they know that you're genuine, that you're really trying to do this, and they have other
mhm,
options of spend, I think that's really
yeah,
important. I can't help. I think in this time with the boom of e-commerce, to your point, there's so much
yes,
out there. It's like music. It's like there's like noise.
yeah,
There's and noise in the matrix,
yeah,
fam. Everybody has a line, and that's good because everybody has a role. There's different things, but were there, in the moments that you're navigating some of the disappointments, you're navigating, shoot, do I got my inventory? Is this cool? Is the quality of this? Is this, where you just felt a bit overwhelmed by, okay, how am I distinguishing myself? Or is this a sustainable plan? Right? Is this sustainable?
yeah.
Like, how much did you wrestle with God around, is this sustainable? 10 years from now, will this be here? Or was that not necessarily on the top of your head?
Yeah, yeah, no, no. I think I've always so for me, I was always very, very tunnel vision and very, very disciplined and focused. But there are times where you like, okay, is this really going to make? Is this going to sustain itself? That's something that we always think about. And then I think also when um, when you're around a certain group of people and it's like, oh, do you really think that's going to work? Or da 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 da, or you should be here, or you're not there, you're still at this space. So of course, like you wrestle with those thoughts.
Mhm.
But for me, um, God was speaking to me, Lawrence, and it was because I was working, transition my 9 to 5, and I was still in a 9 to 5 working at PNC Bank. I was a full time universal banker, and I was starting to really feel unfulfilled at work,
Mm.
right? And they ended up offering me a position that was going to pick me up in the 6 figures, and I went up for it because they pretty much was going to get the job.
Mhm.
What happened was they ended up giving it to someone
Mm.
else, and throughout that phase of me experiencing that, there was a woman who came up to me, and she said something so profound to me that I never forget, and I still carry that on in my life. She said, "Chris, if you get what you want in life, it's a good thing, and if you don't get what you want in life, it's still a good thing."
Mm.
And bro, like I just had to set on that and think about it. It's like, I was thinking that this job for me was going to be a good thing, but really it was time for me to operate in my
Mm.
purpose. And from they called me back and said, "Hey, you didn't get the position." I took the leap of faith. I put in my 2 weeks, moved out to LA, rented out my townhome, and didn't look back, bro. And I've been 4 years now full time. And I've seen the most growth with my brand full time since I've been operating, all by being obedient and taking that leap. and just really just being in tune with God, man. Because I felt like had I stayed in that position, I wouldn't have had the impact that I have now on people,
Mm,
and just within myself.
mm,
Had I stayed within that role, and there's many a times, bro. I feel like there's a lot of people that stay in a position of comfort because they're not sure of what's next.
mm,
And we all get, I mean, of course, like we all kind of wrestle with that. We all kind of deal with that. It's not easy. Uh, but when you look at life in its totality and you think about where you want to be and you think about everyone that's connected to you knowingly and unknowingly, that gave me enough faith for me to step out and pursue the dream. Because I could always go back and find a job, but I may not. My purpose within that small amount of time of that window, there might have been somebody that I needed to connect with or reach that I missed that opportunity because I stayed
mm,
comfortable.
mm.
So for me, I had to take that. I had to take that lead, man.
I love this, man. I want to keep this energy up on this because I think there's a biblical picture of this for people who
Yeah,
don't rock, of like just going out to the land I'll show you, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna go out to this LA land, the La La land, and try to make it try to
sure.
make it work. I think there's something I'm curious about, especially in building
Yes,
a business. And
yes.
I think there is a very interesting dance around business and building businesses well that reflect God well. So there's obviously the actual product, but then
Hmm.
actually how you are the processes, actually how you run the business in a way that also glorifies
Yes,
God. And if coming from family entrepreneurs, being entrepreneurship, you know,
yes.
this ain't a joke. Like,
It's
like
not.
this ain't, what I mean? Like
It's not.
your
Yeah,
accounts receivable here, your payroll here, this happening, but how do you
sure.
ensure that, from a Sabbath, from you're still glorifying God, you're still believing in the actual
Yeah.
execution process? Like, what goes into Life's Journey Company in the ways that you're building the company and aligning with team in that kind of leans on your faith in a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, no, definitely. That's a great question. I took my friend Connie Falls. She created a course called
Mm,
Systems, and it completely changed my life because I was sometimes when you're building a business, you a one man show, one woman show, whatever. So you're wearing so many different hats, and when you wear so many different hats, it can take away from creativity. It can be exhausting. You're just doing so much. So it's very key for me to understand that team is everything. If you don't have a team, it's really hard to get to that next level. There's a quote out there that says, "If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others." So for me, I had to really align myself with the team, and really for me, Lawrence, I had to take away because I've built this brand. I love the brand, but I had to take a little bit of ego out of
mm,
it, right? And understand that in order for me to get to this next level, I'm gonna have to relinquish some of the duties. So I was able to kind of formulate me a small team that actually does shipping and fulfillment. Got the accountant that actually does all the payroll, all of this for me. So as I look back now, my job is to really just stay focused on the brand. But of course, when you're in the building process, it's difficult because you may not have the money or to pay or allocate all these duties. So it's like you do it on your own. So I can relate to that because there's and one thing I'm learning too about people is that you have to find people who really truly love and value what it is that you're trying to do.
mm,
Because if you got someone that's just trying to get like a check or they're just trying to get money, it's going to be good for the first bit of it, but it doesn't really stick.
mm,
You know what I mean? And sometimes it could be not saying it to take away from the building of the business, but sometimes when you align yourself with the wrong people, it may not get to that level like it's supposed to. Because you got to have somebody that truly loves the messaging, and that's why I always ask people like, one, what value do you want to bring to the brand, right? But what value are you bringing to yourself?
mm,
And that's key because when you start to build that and you start to understand that now I know what this person is expecting from the brand. So if they're just expecting money, I don't want that. I want people to be compassionate. So when they come to the pop-up shops, I don't want it to just be a transactional phase. I want them to really connect with. I was just talking to a young lady today. She was we had a meeting before this, and I was saying, hey, when we do this pop-up shop, let's make sure we greet everybody by their name, ask them how their day's going, and just really be in tune with people because you never really know what people's going through.
Mm.
And us, that's what we want to make sure we're doing is really creating a brand that's a feel good company. So I just try to align myself with the right
Mm.
people.
Bro, there's two things that
Yeah,
comes up from what you just said. I think one, just where you ended, is I think people are hungering for that, man. My heart for the issue of loneliness,
yeah,
and the
yeah,
shirt, the product is a conduit. Though
yeah,
again, there's power in that. There's power in the words that people see,
for sure.
that they get to meditate on, because we're always consuming. We're always being discipled by what
Yes,
we're seeing and reading. And so there's a real, but there's
yeah,
also something to be said that at being a conduit, like I'm not a fisher of men, like I'm not a fisherman, I'm fisherman. Like these are conduits for me to
yeah,
build relationships. And so the fact that you're so intentional
right.
with your team around, yo, yes, but if it's transaction, it's not going to be very long. But if it's connection, something happens. I remember how that
Yeah,
felt. I remember, oh wow, it was the first time somebody asked me that.
yes,
It's innumerable, the possibilities of what that could
yes,
spark, and you actually that being a part of
exactly.
the product experience and delivery with the brand. But there's this also this other piece which I think, the trust, man. Meaning,
Yeah.
could you even pull up talk about a moment when there was something you needed to do for the business, for life's journey, like, we need to do this pop up, or we need to ship this out, right? They net 90 on the payment, and I need to ship all these
Yeah.
things out, but you didn't have it. But you had a moment where
Mm.
you're like, you know what, I'm actually going to move forward with this thing because I feel God's going to, and I'll be met in that. Doesn't say that it had to happen, but did you ever have those moments when it was like, okay, the math ain't mathing, but I'm gonna just move forward with this, and God showed up miraculously?
Yeah, 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 definitely. I can name a point. When we was building the brand, I wanted to put together a not a pop up shop, but a fashion show.
Mm.
So we run free from 106 in Park, because I wanted to the brand to be more than just clothing. So when we did the fashion show, to be honest with you, the amount that we had to spend, just 10,000, I didn't have it at that
Mm.
time, and I just remember just really just praying to God, like, God, if you want this to work, please show me how it's going to work. Put the right things in place for this to actually happen, for this to actually work. Of course, with that being said, we ended up doing sponsorship donations, and we was able to raise the money to cover the general expenses for the location, for the building, for free. And then on the back end, we was able to pre-sell tickets that then covered the remainder of the balance, for us to actually put together the show. So yeah, like for me, bro, like that was a leap in within itself, man. I was 25, 24, 24, 25, and I didn't know how it was going to work out, but I just had enough faith to know that I was going to be able to put this together, even though I was looking at this amount for this fashion show. And we did it, man. We had like 900 people ended up showing up to the fashion show, and I was just like completely like, wow. That's how I knew that, like I said, God had His hands on me. Like, and I've never had to really worry about money or things working out because it's like everything has always been aligned for me,
Mm.
um, in a sense, because I truly feel like I'm walking in my purpose.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that was a moment, man. That was a moment because we signed a contract and I didn't have the money. I just had to step out on faith and try to make it happen, man. And we
Mm.
did.
But I can imagine that extends. I think even in this past year, because I would say that you are so personal. The brand is personal. The
Yeah,
messages are personal. They make sense. They're inspirational, and there's a story
definitely.
behind it. I can imagine just the season, let's say, right, that we're in, has made you think through this in a different way. But in some sense, though, when I think about, because the truck idea, I want to get into that a bit.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
whether this was going on or not, I think it proceeded a bit. Like, this doesn't seem surprising, right? That
Yeah,
you in
right.
particular would be wanting to bring it to the people, use the truck to kind of be able to do this. So, how has the past year kind of strengthened your faith per se, in terms of the business and the different models you're trying to do to reach people in lieu of just the environment that we're in?
Yeah, definitely. No, it's interesting because COVID hit, so that really had me in a space because we was actually finishing the truck, getting ready to do our pop up shop tour. But then when COVID shut everything down, of course, I'm like, wow, God, where do I go at next? Because when I look at building this brand, I've been doing it from the grassroots
Mm.
approach since I've been building it out the trunk, out the mud. Uh, but I had to scale it back. So I ended up connecting with the guy that runs ads. So then we started running a lot of Facebook and Instagram ads, and literally within that moment that I had, I'm not going to lie, I had some doubt because I wasn't sure of what we was going to do next, what the next role was, what the next step was. And I just remember him reaching out to me, and I kind of pushed it off for the first time. Second time, I pushed it off. Third time, I was like, let me connect with this brother, see what he has to say. We connected, and from there, man, from running ads, literally the business tripled like crazy. And I was like, wow, this is like going from the doubt because I'm like, man, I had this 30 city tour plan, like we was ready to rock and roll. I had all the dates booked. That shut down, and then this door opened up for the brand, and it was just like this is what I actually needed to actually experience was the grassroots, was the ads, was the marketing. So now it's like everything's automatic. So now it's just running its own on its own pretty much. So it's like to be able to experience that and know that, and now when I be able to bring the truck, and get back to the pop-up shop experiences, that's just another element to it. I mean, it's just it's no limit, pretty much.
All pun intended, man. You know what I'm saying? With this, giving it, man, I was laughing offline. I was just like, I thought he was in LA, and I was like, I knew this guy's like a man that God needs a G. But when I saw that LA, the Dodgers hat, I was like, oh, you bold to be out in LA with that hat on. So, you know what I mean? You shout out to Nip, God rest his soul, and all those. But that takes that's a different type of that's a different type of grown man and woman energy and faith to you can think about it. If that who knows if this wouldn't have happened, maybe it would have been delayed, right? So you see the faithfulness of like God, I was going to go left, and now okay, let me be open to this thing. Oh, now you triple, and now look, I have the resources to do this. I can come back. I just think that's going to hit for somebody hearing this, in a real way. Clothing, now I'm so interested in just now the processes because I think particularly for brothers and sisters, owning company is a bit deeper, right? I think when people understand just the circulation of the dollar in our communities, I think when we understand that the brands that we have been so, I guess, just connected to since younger to consumer to be consumers of, these were companies started by individuals, right? And they had a story.
Yes.
And so, do you feel, right? There have been a lot of stories about brands that have started by brothers and sisters who, who did very, very well, exited well, and had offers and things. How do you think about it? What is your conversation with God around just the longer term play? Obviously, you're fully present in the assignment God has for you, but is the view to say, you know what, I have my son. You know what, I want him to do what he wants to do, but I want to keep this in the family. Or is it a perspective to say, God, I'm taking it a day at a time, and whatever is the best opportunity, that's because there'll be something beyond that I'll, do you have a strong feeling about whether this is a lifer and we want to pass it down versus this is for the season?
Yeah, no, it is. That's why I always try to incorporate my son into what I'm doing with the brand because it's something that I do want to pass down. There was a guy, they created a brand. I think it's Brooklyn Circus, and I remember going to speak, and he said something so profound because sometimes you look at it like I want to build this brand. I want everything to happen right then and there. I want to build this $100 million company, or I want to build this brand. I want to have this global impact, but it takes time. And from listening to him, he said, his goal was to create 100-year-old company. And I'm like, wow. And that just like really opened my mind to say, not to be so much in a rush in terms of, things happening so fast. Because sometimes you can look at it like, I've been operating this brand for over a decade now, and I'm ready to kind of get to that next level. But sometimes it's like God is shaping up the people that's going to carry on the torch, or or there's just certain lessons that you have to learn before you can get to that next level. So for me, I would love to pass it down to my son, and hopefully that he would take the torch. But I have to make sure that it's something that he's aligned with first. But I would love to build a brand in terms of to where it's automatic to no matter what, it's going to be able to keep selling and elevating over time. So that would be the goal. At first, I thought I wanted to open up brick and mortar shops pretty much all over, but now I'm looking at it from with this mobile truck. The goal is to maybe have mobile trucks in every major city, but not pull up, but to create an experience to where people are longing for this life's journey truck to be present within the atmosphere, right? And that's been like the ultimate goal of the way I've been thinking in terms of building this brand. What is the impact that I want to have 20, 30 years from now? Like, where do I see this brand? And that's what I'm envisioning right now, So yeah, something I definitely want to pass on, but I'm also taking it one day at a time as well too.
Please do, brother. You're doing a lot, and you're touching so many people's lives. I think the output is undeniable, right? That this is divine. But I always have to ask, because brothers, we got to care and look out for each other, man. What is your ideal rhythm with God in a day? How are you caring for yourself? If you had a day to yourself, how would you most connect with God? How would you architect it where you felt most connected to God if you just had a day for yourself?
Yeah, man. You know what? I go out, I hike a lot. So for me, that's my outlet. I'm in tune with nature. I'm able to shut down my phone. I'm able to climb, hike, and just clear my mind of everything. That's been like my outlet. Also, I ride bikes too. So bike riding has been like another outlet because I feel free, and that's when I can actually hear from God when I'm away from the noise that's happening around everything else, and just really just being in tune with God and the Spirit, And for me, just really just even sitting on my backyard, reading a book, just meditating, or just hearing from God, like that to me, I don't need much, And sometimes I think we forget that, right? Everything we need is already either within us or it's within touching distance. So for me, it was just being able to step outside, man, and just be free. That's been my outlet to really hear from God. Like whenever I'm stressed or I'm worrying about something, I just go up to the mountain, I walk, I clear my mind, and I just listen to God, man. I pray, I talk to Him, and that's been like a outlet for me now, and it's really been beneficial for me and my mental health too.
I just think it's dope for people to hear, that one, it's so important for everybody to have whatever that looks like for you, to know it, and ultimately to make space and time for it. Because I think for brothers, typically I always ask about stress and pressure, because there's just different, there's no bench press that's heavy enough to carry some of the things that we be carrying. And obviously it's unique to people, but just having that outlet to connect with God, I think is really, really dope. Yo, bro, man, we said that this is obviously just the beginning of just the building, the collaboration. But I am so excited about what you got going on and what's ahead. What is ahead? What do people have to look forward to in the next seasons coming up, and how they can kind of, lock arms with you and support the brand?
Yeah. Yeah, man. So we got the mobile pop-up truck that we spoke about. I've been getting into a lot of collabs. We collab with, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that chick, Angel. Works with, what's his name? Kevin. He's a comedian. I can't think of his, no, not Kevin Hart, the other guy. He has a bald head. He actually has his own TV network now. Kev on Stage. Kev on Stage.
Kev, yeah. LA. He in LA now, right?
Yeah, she works with him, and just really getting to the collab focus. But yeah, so I think the good thing, like I was telling her, just being completely transparent and just coming out and telling people, hey, this is the life journey shoot that we're actually branching off to. Because when I visualize life journey, my model company that I follow behind is Nike. When I look at the verb, when I look at life's journey, it speaks to people. People don't even have to say, "Oh, what does that mean?" They already take what it means to them and they apply it to their life. So when I'm building this company, my ultimate goal is to collab with Nike. But I'm not going to wait on the collab. I'm gonna go ahead and pick my own shoe out, and then once I get to where I need to be at, then I'll reach back out. So yeah, that leverage, brother. You said it. So for me, it's just like coming out with a shoe that. I feel that's nice, and I feel that people will rock with it, and I feel that as long as we have a good price point, I believe people will definitely support it and get on board with it. So I'm excited about it, and like I said, it's not. It's going to have a different element, so it's not coming in your regular shoebox. It's going to have a Life's Journey travel backpack bag that is going to come with. So there's a few different elements that we're adding with it. So I'm excited to see, where the shoe would actually go from there. So,
Brother, man, yo, I'm excited as well, man. And I want our dollars to go to our people. So though
yeah,
I'm gonna definitely put that, but put the dollar forward, just even with the verbal support. Brother, man, I just think on behalf of those who hear this and who see this, man, I just want to thank you, man, for you being faithful, man, faithful and to just serving, and faithful to how you've been designed to care for people, and to create experiences that I think people desperately need. Imagine a
for
world
sure.
where every touch point of commerce, where people had this mindset, could imagine how people's days and lives would be different. And so I just think that you're
Definitely.
giving a picture, you're modeling it. It's sometimes better to show you better than I can say it to you. And I think that you're doing that
Yes.
from an industry standpoint, but obviously interpersonally,
Yes.
I think we all benefited from this time. And this is just obviously the beginning of many more conversations we'll have. So, brother, how do people find you, man?
Sure.
I know how to find you, but how do they journey to find you online, man? How they connect?
Definitely, man. You can find me on Instagram at Chris Hudson _ JRNY. You can also find us at Life's Journey CO on Instagram. www.lifesjourneyclothing.com is the website. I'm on Facebook, Chris Hudson, Facebook, Life's Journey as well. So those are the outlets that I'm on. So you tap in
Yeah, I
with us.
mean, yo, King, salute. Salute, man, for the
Thank
good
you.
work, man. You got another brother locking arms with you, man, and I'm pretty sure many more will, especially after this, man. So again, thank you again for sharing your story, man, and onward, man. Let's
Yes,
get it.
sir. My pleasure,
Take
man. Thank
care.
you.